14 studio albums, some of them great, some of them good, and some of them do also in fact exist. And today I want to go through all of them and figure out what my personal favorite is from every single album. And because every list like this goes from the beginning all the way to the end, I want to change things up and go from the newest album, Saviors, all the way to their earliest album. And what is my favorite song? We'll find out now. I'm looking through the track list of Saviors right now, and I see a lot of songs that I initially didn't really connect with, but now that I'm re-listening to them, I think that there's a lot of strong picks on here. I initially thought that obviously it would be Look Ma No Brains, one of the most energetic singles that they put out previously to the song. It definitely wasn't going to be The American Dream Is Killing Me, but now that I'm looking through all of those, I think Dilemma is a very strong song. I also think that Father to a Son is very good. The chorus on Saviors is also very, very catchy and memorable. But the most energetic song on here that I keep coming back to, even though it doesn't have the greatest lyrical value on the album, is 1981. It's just this raw punk energy that I've missed from Green Day in a while, and that's why I think I'm gonna put 1981 as my favorite song of Saviors. But for all of these picks, those are just my opinion, and please feel free to drop your opinion in the comments down below. Next up is the dreaded album that gets the most hate in the Green Day community, Father of All. And while I agree that it is not their best album, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. It is bad comparatively to the Green Day catalog, but compared to mainstream music, it's still not terrible. And I do find myself enjoying some cuts on this album, like for example the closer Graffitia, which I almost picked as my favorite song looking through here. There's a couple of cuts here that are definitely not the best song, like Take the Money and Crawl, or Junkies on a High, or the very repetitive Oh Yeah. But I do find myself drawn to Stab You in the Heart as my favorite song. I think it has this like kind of blues rock energy for whatever reason, and it definitely sticks out to me on the album as the most energetic song, the most fun song. If I need to put a song in a playlist from this album, it's always Stab You in the Heart, because when it comes on, it gets you in a good mood, and it does have this energy that Green Day used to have on every song that they did, and the passion that Green Day used to have, and I find that on this album that's mostly lacking. But Stab You in the Heart is a great exception, and actually one of my, probably on the upper half of my favorite Green Day songs, not in the lower half. That was a weird thing to say. Because there's so many good songs on Revolution Radio, I actually need to take a second and listen to all the ones that I think might be the pick, because if I'm being honest, Saviors I just listened to so many times because it's brand new, and that's why it was an easy pick. Father of All, I do know the 2 to 3 songs that I regularly listen to from that album, but Revolution Radio actually is I think a bit underrated, so I need to take a moment and listen to some of these songs before I can give you the definitive pick. So here's a montage of me listening to songs. So going into Revolution Radio, I was pretty sure that my pick would be Still Breathing, because it's probably the song that I revisit most often, but that's also because it's more acceptable in social settings than an energy-fueled bomb like Bang Bang or Bouncing Off the Walls. And when I just started listening to the album again, Somewhere Now is such a great opener, and I was again blown away by how good it is. Then I listened to Bang Bang and Bouncing Off the Wall, and they're so energetic, they're so great, they're everything that I said I loved about my picks from Saviors and Father of All. And while I do still love Still Breathing, I think it's definitely not my pick. I'm kind of torn between Forever Now, the closer, and Bouncing Off the Wall, because Bouncing Off the Wall really has this super energetic, fun chorus and such a great hook line that I got time running after me. But Forever Now is one of those longer songs with a lot of emotion behind it that also geniusly picks up on Somewhere Now from the beginning, which is also a great song. So I'll re-listen to those one more time because it's hard to make up your mind. Never mind, it's forever now. Alright, now it's Trilogy time, and I really love the Trilogy. It's not a popular take, I know, and I don't think it's better than some of their other things. But still, there's so much fun to be had on these 3 albums, and so many different vibes on these 3 albums. And if you're like at a garden hangout and you gotta put on some light pop punk, there's no better album for that than Uno. And there's so many great songs, and starting with Trey, I mean the opener Brutal Love is a staple in a lot of playlists that I make for people because it's such a great opener for an album, it's such a great mood setter for what you're about to get into, and it has a great performance by Billie Joe Armstrong, and I really like it. And then going further, A Little Boy Named Train is, I think, a really underrated cut. I'm just seeing now that it has the least streams on the entire album, and I don't think that's deserved. I think A Little Boy Named Train is a great song, and the true genius of the album does come in the last 3 songs: Dirty Rotten Bastards, 99 Revolutions, and The Forgotten. The Forgotten is again a great closer that is also super slow and kind of the antidote to what we have in the beginning with Brutal Love. And I think it's a great song, but I don't think it's the best song. I think that 99 Revolutions also comes close to being the best song, but it is kind of a bit too repetitive if you re-listen to it over and over and over again. So my pick will have to be the epic Dirty Rotten Bastards. I mean, from front to back, Dirty Rotten Bastards is such a great tune. We have this very anthemic radio rock opening that you would find on their later work as well, and you have these like elements that kind of seem repetitive at the beginning, but then we get in this very fast-paced, almost American Idiot reminiscent second verse with All Fucked Up Beyond Intervention being the starting line there, and it really gets you going and excited. And then at the end you have this again, kind of American Idiot inspired late part where they repeat over and over again, we're carried away, and it's kind of a great closing segment for the song. It's a great song on the album, and I really love it. Carried away, carried away, carried away. Thus is kind of an easy one to go through rather quickly, because I do think that it's probably the weakest album in their discography, and there is some good tunes on here, but nothing that stands out as the best other than 2 potential songs, and that's the Stray Heart, obviously the most streamed song, the one that was on radios when this album was released, and the actual best song, I think, which is definitely Lazy Bones. The I'm so tired aspect, the way that the instrumentation changes for the second part of the song is really well done. It reminds me very much of like a little element that you could have seen again on American Idiot, and something that maybe the song could have been even longer and then turned into something like Dirty Rotten Bastards, which is really good. But I think that Lazy Bones is definitely the pick for this album. I'm so tired, I can't take it anymore. Alright, moving on to Uno, I think there's a few songs that you could consider here. First and foremost, the opener, Nuclear Family, is a really fun song that you can almost always put on and have a good time with. I think that Carpe Diem falls into that same vein, and I think that if we go further in the track list, something like Angel Blue or Sweet 16 are definitely not the greatest songs that have ever been written, but it's a lot of fun to go through them, and it's a great background party vibe for the entire album, really. But when it comes to the best songs, I think there's 3 potential picks, and that's the closer, Oh Love, which is the most popular song from this album. There is obviously the opener, Nuclear Family, and then kind of in the beginning, kind of in the middle, you have a song that really sticks out because it's not this really fun, background, noisy pop punk energy that you can imagine at like a garden hangout, and that's Let Yourself Go, which is by far the most energetic track on this album. It is so much fun. It reminds me of like the Dookie era Green Day with modern instrumentation, and I think it would have been really fun to see an entire album that sounds like Let Yourself Go, that sounds as angry as this song and as energetic. We didn't get that really other than some cuts on Revolution Radio, but I still think that Let Yourself Go is probably the best song from the entire Trilogy era, And it is probably in my top 10 favorite Green Day songs of all time. So Let Yourself Go is really underrated. And I know a lot of people kind of disregard it because it is on the trilogy, but really listen to it with like a fresh set of eyes, with a fresh mind, and don't think about the fact that it has little X's on the cover. Think about the fact that it's an energetic Green Day song. And Let Yourself Go is a really great cut.
Always fucking with my head and I gotta let it go. Let yourself go, let yourself go.
Alright, 21st Century Breakdown is next, and obviously you could think we can just make this very quickly because obviously 21 Guns is on this album and it's one of the most popular songs of all time by Green Day. It has like over 500 million streams, and by virtue of having 500 million streams, almost as much as the entire rest of the album combined. I don't think that 21 Guns is the best song on this album though. It's definitely the most radio friendly and the most mainstream friendly song, and that's why it has all this attention, but I don't think it's craft wise and vibe wise the best song on the album. I think there's a few contenders for that, and I think that oftentimes because it is not as good as American Idiot, 21st Century Breakdown is overlooked as an album, but there's so many gems on here that I genuinely enjoy, and I'm gonna have to go through some of them before I can give you like a real set of choices. After listening to the songs that I knew would be in like closer competition for the title of best song, I kept coming back to two songs, and I really think that it's a tie depending on your mood, because for me I think that there's a really great emotional slower song that also has a lot of punch to it, and that is Restless Heart Syndrome, one of the most underrated Green Day songs because it comes in the track listing very late. It is in between a very energetic Horseshoes and Hand Grenades and the very emotional Viva La Gloria Little Girl, and it has this really great energy at the beginning that is very emotional, and then the transition to the more straightforward, fast-paced part with the Know Your Enemy line, which you always associate with the song Know Your Enemy, which is also great, but it is so much cooler in this song, the transition with the Know Your Enemy. It is such a great song. And I think that if I'm in a slower and in a more down mood, I would prefer this one. If I'm in a more energetic mood, I would probably go with American Eulogy, Mass Hysteria / Modern World, because that song has such a great punch to it. It has an energetic first part and an energetic second part, and both of those are combined very well on this song. I think that the energy transcends from one song to the next really good, and the end where both parts are kind of intertwined also makes for a really good almost last song on the album. I think something that drags the song down is that Billy Joel randomly drops the N-bomb on in 2009, where he really should have known better. But other than that, that song is a really good choice. But depending on my mood, it would probably be Restless Heart Syndrome or that one. And for now, for today, I'm going with Alright, this is the big one. Well, one of the two big ones, but this is definitely the most famous Green Day album in the mainstream. This is the one with all of the great and big hits. And which song is my favorite? Well, this is gonna be so hard. You might think that, but it's actually not. For me, it's a super easy choice. I don't even have to re-listen to it because I know this album by heart. Very quickly, I think that American Idiot is probably the best, most straightforward pop-punk song ever written, and it's so great and formulaic that it's been copied ever since. I think that Boulevard of Broken Dreams and Wake Me Up When September Ends are two very hard-hitting, emotional, slower songs that Green Day have pulled off incredibly well. I think that Holiday is a great song. I think that What's Her Name is an underrated emotional masterpiece. And I also think that Saint Jimmy, the part that comes after Are We the Waiting, is one of the most energetic, punkish things that they've done since their early, more punk days, and it's really well done. But there is one song on this album that is in my top 10 songs of all time, and it has all these different parts to it, all these different flavors. Everything comes together so well on Jesus of Suburbia, which is probably not even top 10. I'd say top 5, maybe top 3 songs. On some days, if you ask me, I will say this is my favorite song of all time. So even though this is the big one that probably everyone's been waiting or skipping towards, I think that this is a rather easy one for me. It's Jesus of Suburbia. It is such a great tune.
I'm the son of Rachel Love, the Jesus of Suburbia.
Quick intermezzo, I'm not counting Shenanigans because it's not a studio album, but if I was including it, then the song would be You Lied. And by saying that, I guess I included it in the video, so...
You lied.
Warnings next, which is another great Green Day album. A lot of fun can be had with this album. And I do think that this is one of the albums where the most popular songs are also the strongest ones. So if you look at just the streaming numbers, you have Warning with 48 million, you have Waiting with 39 million, Minority with 72 million, and the Macy's Day Parade at 27 million streams. And I think those are the 4 best songs. Maybe I personally would put Hold On into the category of best songs, but yeah, it's between Waiting, Minority, and Warning. And I think it really depends on your mood. Again, I need to re-listen to those 3 songs. Give me a second. Yeah, it's Minority. Probably expected, but I just had to re-listen because I do think that Waiting and Warning are also great songs, and they also do a great job of incorporating these more folk-like elements with the punk rock side of Green Day. But Minority just does the best job, and it's the most popular one for a reason, so Minority it is. Nimrod is such a good album. It's probably my second favorite Green Day album of all time. Yes, controversial take, but I do think it is a better album than Dookie. I really enjoy Nimrod. And I think that there's so many great songs on here, starting with Nice Guys Finish Last, which is incredible. Hitchin' a Ride is so much fun. I think Scattered is an underrated gem. I think Platypus, I Hate You is a great gem. And I think that even the instrumental piece, Hoshinka, is a really great song. King for a Day is a ska song on a Green Day album 10 years into their career, and it's so much fun. Obviously, we have Good Riddance on here, one of the most popular songs that the band has ever released. And the song after Good Riddance, which often gets forgotten about because people think Good Riddance is the closer, Prosthetic Hat is also such a great song. And I really need to take a second to listen to those again. So I listened to all of the songs that I just mentioned, and something interesting happened, because from all the songs that I mentioned, I would have probably picked either Platypus, I Hate You, or Nice Guys Finish Last as my favorite song from the album, or even the obvious choice, Good Riddance, which is definitely the most popular one. But I happened to skip to another song that I saw that I remembered I had some association with, and that's the third song on the album, The Grouch, which I think has one of the best opening lines on any Green Day songs ever. They say, I was a young boy that had big plans, now I'm just another shitty old man. And it's such a powerful song that kind of deals with growing up and turning into a person that you would have probably not liked when you were a kid, dealing with all of these struggles that Billy Joe has. And I think it's a really great song that often gets overlooked. Even I just overlooked it while I was looking at the songs that could potentially be the best song. And after listening to it and comparing it with the rest, I think it's my choice. I think The Grouch is my choice.
I'm just another shitty old man. What did I burn and I hate everything the world does me, so fuck you.
We moved on to Insomniac, and I think that this pick might be the most controversial one for some people in this entire video. I think that there's great songs on this album, like Geek Stink Breath, like Walking Contradiction, or the obvious choice, Brain Stew. And I do like all of those, but my personal favorite is the song that starts with a 2-minute instrumental, Panic Song. I understand that maybe this isn't a song that you would put in your regular playlist because you don't want a 2-minute instrumental section hitting you at every second turn, but I do think that Panic Song does what it's trying to do, namely provide you with a musical equivalent to a panic attack exceptionally well. I really enjoy this song. I think it is a powerful one. I think it is a very emotional one, and if you know the backstory to the song, The instrumental section actually has a huge emotional meaning, and I really applaud them for doing that, and I think it's definitely my favorite song off of Insomniac.
Headed for a cheap escape on the brink of self-destruction.
Alright, this is the other big one. This is Dookie, and there are so many great picks here. There is Longview, Welcome to Paradise, Basket Case, When I Come Around, and luckily I don't have to pick Welcome to Paradise because that song is also on Kerplunk and is probably the best song on Kerplunk, but we'll get to that in a second. But between the great songs that are on here, I always struggle between Longview and Basket Case. When I Come Around is another great song, but I think that everything that When I Come Around does so great, Basket Case does better, and there is a different vibe for Longview and Basket Case, and depending on your mood you might want one or the other, but it's the iconic choice, it's the great choice, it is probably one of the best songs they've ever written and one of the best pop punk songs ever written. I'm gonna make this quick, I'm gonna go with the obvious Basket Case for Dookie. It is my favorite song off of that album.
Sometimes I give myself the creeps.
Alright, now Kerplunk, I just announced it, is going to be Welcome to Paradise. The earlier version is still such a great song that it's probably better than anything else on Kerplunk, which is why they remade it on Dookie. But I do want to give a shout out to a close second place, and that is the song 80, which is a really, really underrated song, and it has a lot to say about relationship dynamics. It has a lot to say about drug abuse, whichever you want to see in the song. I think that it often gets overlooked, just like the entire Kerplunk album often gets overlooked in the shadow of Dookie. And I do understand that because Dookie is many steps ahead of Kerplunk, but it's still a great album. I personally don't revisit it as often as I do the other albums, but every time I do, I find myself enjoying a lot of the songs, and 80 is definitely among them. It's probably, if not for Welcome to Paradise, it would definitely be the best song on this album.
Welcome to paradise.
And now for our final album, I'll do what Green Day did when they re-released it as an album and count Smooth Out Slappy Hours and 1039 as one project. And on that one project, it is so incredibly hard to choose a favorite. I knew going into this which two there are. I want to give a special shout out to The Judge's Daughter, which is another underrated cut, and it's a great song. But the two best songs on this album have to be Disappearing Boy, which by the way is one of the favorite songs of Serena Williams, and Going to Pasalaka. I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly, but I do hope so. And Disappearing Boy and Going to Pasalaka are such great songs. And to think back what age Billy Joe was when he wrote those songs and how well they hold up even now, so much later, I think that both of those are great, and it's really, really hard to pick a favorite. Before I started recording, I listened to both of those again and again, and it's so hard. I think I'm gonna go. No. I'm going with Disappearing Boy. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. This is a really new format that I just wanted to do because I wanted to rank my favorite songs of each Green Day album. If you like this, if this gets positive reception, I might do this for other bands. I might do a worst list for Green Day as well, where I pick the worst song of each album. Let me know your favorites in the comments down below. Maybe I missed a great song or it wasn't on my radar and I really should look into that. But those are my favorite songs off of each album, and I'll see you around. Bye. Whew, nice.